This seems to be a very hot topic in the world of music, and I figured I would discuss it today and tell you where I stand on it. So, posthumous albums. That's what we're talking about today. If you don't know what posthumous is, it's basically something happening after the death of the creator of said thing. Like giving them an award, something releasing after the person has died, and in this case it is albums or posthumous music in general. Now, when I say there are many, I mean many posthumous album releases by artists. Some great, and then some not so great. But regardless, I fully support the both good and bad being released. As a person who cares heavily about the preservation of media, and when you look at stuff like the lost media, like world or whatever you want to go to in it, music is a lot of lost media. Like last year, I think they found two new songs. There was the one, I forget what the heck it is. It's like I think it's like a gothic type song or whatever. I have the song playing in my head, but I don't remember it. And then the one everyone was looking for, the song Everyone Knows That, which is called Ulterior Motives, was found last year. And like if you talk to anyone in the lost media, that was like a big find in general. And the cases of music being lost media, it could just literally being lost, stolen, destroyed, etc. Like any reason could basically prevent this from releasing. And then when that musician passes, the chance of finding stuff like that gets very, very slim. And with the estates or labels of said past musicians, posthumous albums can either be amazing or fumbled hard, depending on how they handle it, how they release it. We are going to be talking about a handful of artists today, and like the releases that they kind of had, and I want to bring up ways that stuff in the posthumous music world could be released properly, so that way we can still get it in any way possible. And unfortunately, a lot of the newer generation rappers that I remember from high school have unfortunately passed away right as they were blowing up or just during their career and making waves in their respective communities, dropping a crazy amount of songs. And unfortunately, like stuff from their catalogs has been lost, has been shelved, unreleased, destroyed, etc. Like the artists that come to mind, Juice WRLD, XXXTentacion, and Lil Peep. I actually remember, like in school, us finding out that Lil Peep passed away. So we're going to talk about their posthumous releases and also a couple others that I tend to like as well. In terms of X, his last two albums that were released, Skins and then Bad Vibes Forever, were released as full album releases. And looking at the ratings from critics, they're around like a 3.8 to a 4 out of 10. Talking about how these albums seem more like half-baked pieces and not really put together the best way. And it's because it looks like to be mostly demos and unfinished tracks. Juice WRLD, on the other hand, has 3 posthumous albums: Legends Never Die, Fighting Demons, and The Party Never Ends. With it seeming to go in order from best to worst in terms of like the scoring. These were on a rating of 5, but it literally goes down from 4.5 out of 5 to 3.5, and then 3 average, like across the different people that ranked these albums. And from what I could find in some people in the Juice WRLD world, they're saying he apparently has over 2,000 songs that he recorded before passing. Like, that sounds crazy to me, but also some people say it's probably just a mix of hooks, finished songs, demos, alternate takes, etc. Like, we don't know what they are, but apparently there's 2,000 total, around that number. That's the one I see thrown around a lot. Some I've seen say 500, some I've seen say like 3,000 to 5,000. But 2,000 seems to be the one that I found was like the average that I can find people talking about. Now with Lil Peep, it seems like they are handling his releases fairly well. Now, I will say I like how his team or estate is releasing these projects. Like, they've released the albums Come Over When You're Sober 2, Everybody's Everything, Diamonds, and Lil Peep Part 1, like going in order from what I can find on Spotify, Discogs, etc. Alongside these albums have been multiple new singles and EPs that have been dropping, like, as well. Like, it's crazy. Like, they're all 3 to 4 track EPs, but they seem overall like they're new material. But there are a ton of other artists who do have posthumous album releases, like Janis Joplin's album Pearl, Nirvana's MTV Unplugged album releasing after Kurt's passing, Tupac and Biggie have posthumous albums, Captain Beefheart, even Pink Floyd has a semi-posthumous release, with Rick Wright's passing in 2008 and then them releasing The Endless River. But out of all these posthumous releases I can find, out of all these artists and all, 2 have stuck out to me as having a solid lock on these posthumous album releases: David Bowie and Frank Zappa. Now, David Bowie's team has done a fairly okay job for the most part. Thankfully, some of these releases come out on Record Store Day, so they don't seem like they're just out of the blue. It's really cool that they're at least being released as like a special thing. I like that for the most part. Obviously, you'll have your fair share of live albums, especially having a career like his, spanning from the early 60s to 2016. Like, that is a long time. That's over 50 years of Bowie. You're gonna obviously have a lot of live albums. But I think it's crazy that one of his first posthumous releases was the No Plan EP, including the single Lazarus from Black Star, and 3 brand new songs. If you want to know more about the No Plan EP and that era, I talked about it last year. You can find it it's like, where are these David Bowie demos, whatever I talked about. But on top of that, they're also releasing stuff like remixes and remasters, and re-releasing the single EPs from back then, like the 90s one. Like, I have one for I'm Afraid of Americans, and it has like 7 different versions of the song on it. So they're going through that stuff, and they include like different mixes, instrumentals, long version, dance mixes, etc. So it's cool that they're releasing those to like a new audience, putting them on streaming, all that fun stuff. But that's just re-releasing. That's not releasing, that's re-releasing. The coolest thing they've done, in my opinion, is things like the Spying Through a Keyhole and Clearville Groove demos that are these little 7-inches in a box set. And like the labels look like the original labels. I'm guessing that they were just on acetate records, like demos, stuff like that. I think that is really cool. And they've also done stuff like the Mercury one and all that stuff. But they also did continue with the Eras box set. I got the first one for Christmas of 2015. I remember that. It was the 5 years box set, pretty much spanning... When did this span? I have it right up here on my shelf, you can't see it. That spans 1969 to 1973, the Space Oddity era, through the Aladdin Sane / Pinups era. They've done one every year up to... They've done one of every era up to 2001, which are alright, but mostly they're just repackaged stuff you can find normally, except for, I would say, if you're going to go for any of them, the Brilliant Adventures box set. That features mainly the 90s stuff, and that was a pain in the ass to collect for me. Like, I don't even have them all yet, I don't think. But they also do a lot of neat box sets for the anniversaries of albums, which I am actually planning to get some of them. Because some of them I'm like, okay, I don't really like the Space Oddity era so much, except for a few songs. But then there's some, like one we're going to talk about in a minute, that I am like I will throw an elephant off a cliff to get this, basically. These box sets, like the Conversation Piece box set celebrating the Space Oddity era, they include the 2 7-inch box sets from before, and also the Mercury demos one, but also a great handful of unreleased tracks, and mixes from other compilations like Bowie at the Beeb, and Anniversary Edition bonus tracks, and a 2019 mix of Space Oddity. Divine Symmetry celebrates the Hunky Dory era, featuring live tracks, a remaster of Hunky Dory, and way more unreleased demos, which include 2 amazing demo tracks that I think are probably some of his best demo tracks. I don't know, I might put together like a 10 best David Bowie demo tracks. I don't know, maybe not, I don't know. But the 2 from this box set, Tired of My Life, which turned into It's No Game 10 years after it was recorded, basically. I like the demo more, I will say that. Not really a big fan of It's No Game, but Tired of My Life, hell yeah. And then the next one, I will say, is probably one of the best demo tracks I have ever heard, and it's a crime that it wasn't released at the time as it is, because it is, like, flawless. It's Shadow Man. Now, you might be thinking, if you know Bowie, and you're like, hey, Shadow Man was released. There was a piano version recorded for the Toy album that was shelved, I think, in 2000, 2001, and some of them songs got reworked into the Heathen album, like Uncle Floyd turned into Slip Away, etc., etc. But Shadow Man was released as a B-side in 2002, if I'm correct, to the CD Everyone Says Hi, but I don't know if it was on all of them. It is on the 2002 UK version in the slim, not a, like a super slim case, and not a jewel case. It's the one where it's a weird one, but it's a light blue disc that I have. The demo version of Shadow Man has never seen an official release, or Tired of My Life even. They have never seen official releases until, like, just recently on this box set, but they were leaked onto YouTube and a lot of other sites. I have low quality burned CDs I made in 9th grade homeroom that I mixed into better quality through pirated version of a Sony Vegas Pro 13. Shout out to Hannah for showing me Pirate Bay. They also released Rock and Roll Star, which is an anniversary set for my favorite album of all time, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. And surprisingly enough, a flawless album obviously has some flawless and wild hidden gems, like the original home recording for Moon Age Daydream being titled So Long 60s, as well as other demos, rehearsals, and alternate takes and mixes and Blu-ray audio versions, live performances, the Arnold Korn tracks, like, so much wild stuff that has been kind of like maybe sprinkled here, maybe sprinkled there, or just never seen, just slapped into one giant box set. I am going to do everything in my power to get this damn thing. But with all that being said, Frank Zappa's team outdoes anyone I've talked about on this list by a landslide. One thing I love about Frank Zappa is you will not find 2 live shows that will sound the exact same at all. I've been listening to him for the past 7-8 years. I have not found any live performances that sound the exact same for any song. Obviously, you're going to have some variations when you perform a song for so many times or whatever, but I'm talking about performance-wise. Never seen the same thing twice, basically. It's that crazy. And not only that, he has a massive warehouse of tapes full of unreleased tracks, live shows, etc. I saw the video of him inside his vault talking. Like, it's shelves, like 10-foot tall shelves, like 20 feet long, stacked with reel-to-reel tapes of masters of shows, recordings, etc. Like, it's beyond me how the hell he has all that organized so well. But unfortunately, he did pass in the early 90s. But that didn't stop the releases. His team has been pumping out an average of 1 album every year since 1994. And all of it is insanely good. Now, I say an average because maybe there was a year or 2 in between releases of some things after his death, but some years had like 5 releases, some years had 3, some years had 6, so it's like an average of one a year since '94 is fair to me to say. And we're talking about stuff like special live shows, unreleased stuff like the album Funky Nothingness, and anniversary editions of some albums having a massive amounts of bonus music to make it worth spending the money on. We'll take his album Apostrophe as an example here. The standard release of that album is 9 tracks long, starting with Don't Eat the Yellow Snow, ending with the song Stinkfoot. Jumping to the 50th anniversary edition, on Spotify it gives us 66 tracks, 5.5 hours of material. And this doesn't even take into consideration the box set, which adds, from the Blu-ray disc, an extra 27 tracks that include the Blu-ray, quadraphonic, and 1974 stereo mixes of Apostrophe, bringing the total to 93 overall. So in terms of posthumous releases in general, I hate when artists decide I don't want any of my stuff being released after my death. I hate that they do that because think of how much stuff is just sitting in vaults that we would never hear. Like apparently, the Suicide Boys, they say they don't want posthumous releases, but Scrim has said before he makes hundreds and hundreds of songs, and all of his albums that he's released have been super long. Like between Scrim's 3 solo albums, not before Suicide Boys, because that's a whole other can of worms that I would love to get into one day, but what is it? First album, 20 songs. Man Rose from the Dead, that's 20 songs. We're going to talk about the deluxe edition of Lonely Boy, because that came out pretty much, how long? Literally 2 weeks after the release. That was 44 songs total. So we're already up to 64 songs between 2 albums. And then his last one, Via Crucis, which I have not listened to yet, is 30 songs. So we're at damn near 100 songs in 3 albums over 5 years. That is insane, and not to mention how much stuff has not been released. The fact that they say they don't want posthumous releases, even though I love them as artists, they're great artists, I hate that because fans would eat up anything. It's like just to hear like rough mixes and all that, I would kill for that. But I encourage any artist that has any sort of doubts about posthumous releases, I would go and look at some of the ones that have come out on the better end, like Zappa, Bowie, and a lot of these other older artists that have stuff being brought to light that fans are loving, that become cult classics, that people have been searching for decades. Like, this is important. Here are some of my suggestions for if you are going to be putting out stuff posthumously. Like, if any sort of label sees this, the team sees this, if people have any doubts about it, if they are big artists that see this, if you are, hello. But just listen, because I think it's important. If you have an anniversary edition of an album, say like Bowie or Zappa did, make it a box set. Make it a big deal for people to be interested about it. Do demos or outtake CDs or vinyls with the main album, and then another one with bonus. Say your full main album fits on like one LP, make it a double LP, and the second LP is rough takes or demos or alternate mixes of the first album. I love that stuff. I think it's so cool. Or if it's just a batch of random songs that you don't know where they came from, do a volumed series, like a From the Vault series. Have whatever team or whatever pick like 10 songs from the vault, throw it in a collection, like Volume 1, Volume 2. So that way, they are released as that, and not as an album like in the way of Ex's, Skins, or Bad Vibes Forever, because those were released and promoted as full albums, when in reality they seemed more like a vault release, which would be more in just picking a handful and dropping them. So at the end of the day, release the demos, release the alternate mixes, release rough takes. Release a 30-second take of a song. Just release that stuff, because people will be cherishing these things, and people, if not, will be wondering what is left behind that we don't know about.